Well, hello there! I am Taylor, and you are listening to the Surviving Maine Podcast. Today, I am interviewing the person voted out in episode 11 of Surviving Maine Season 3, and that is, drumroll, none other than Jeans Guy himself. It's Dan. He played in Wet Jeans, and you know what? He was probably fine. I don't know why people made such a big deal about the jeans. I thought it was kind of hilarious, though. So here is my interview with Dan. Dan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. It is great to be talking with you. You're the one of the few people I knew from before the season started, and it was good to see a fellow RHAP patron and Boston area person.
Yeah. Yeah, we had briefly met the one time 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So it was it was nice to see familiar faces out there on the production team that I had met before. It sort of made it a more comfortable experience for me, for sure.
Good. Okay, so let's talk about here you are going out you were really close to the end.
Yes, I was.
Yes, so sorry. But let's talk about the beginning. When you first show up, what was going on? Well, first of all, how did you find out about Surviving Maine? Why did you apply? What was that like?
Sure. So I found out about Surviving Maine just through some friends of mine who had played the last season 2. I had gotten involved in the online reality games community, and my very first game I played was hosted by Brandon Clark, and my closest ally in that game was Cam Daniel. Okay. So it was I had people sort of pushing me in that direction. Not pushing me, but I had heard a little bit about Surviving Maine. And so in 2019, early 2020, I applied and then got cast and was very excited. And then a month later,
yeah,
COVID hits, and I had to take a two-year break before I could even do it.
Yeah, we all did. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice to see just from talking to other people on the cast, it felt like at least a few, maybe half the people out there had the same situation as me, which was kind of cool that so many people still made it out.
Yeah, it was about half. Oh, almost all of the men on the season were cast back in 2019, early 2020. So yeah. Okay, oh, and what about how you applied? Did you send in a video?
So yeah, I had sent in a video 2 years ago, 2.5 at this point. And it's kind of funny now because it's that was so long ago. I'm probably a different person at this point. So it's I don't even know what you guys were expecting. And I had sort of toyed around with applying to this season. I was maybe not. And then Liza reached out to me. And I had missed the first email. And she reached out again 2 months later and was no, seriously, do you want to do this? I need to know now. And so yeah, I just was fuck it, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so you show up, and what are your first impressions about what's going on?
So my first impressions was I was pretty nervous. I had never done a live format before. I'd never done something so short form. I'd only ever done super long form, 39 days plus, on the internet while you're
wow,
working it into your real life, sort of on the phone in between your job or whatever. So it was a little nerve-wracking, how am I gonna translate my gameplay style from that to a more short form a more short form format. I don't think I was that successful. Spoiler alert. And other than that, like I was nervous because like I do know a lot of people through the online like Survivor community. So I was nervous, like, will people know me? Not that I'm like that threatening of a player.
Sure.
Like I have that big of a reputation, but still it's weird. And I knew exactly one person on the cast, and we were in the game together for like 2 rounds. So, you know.
Who was it?
John Farrell.
Oh, John. Yeah, there were
Yeah.
so many of you who like knew each other tangentially through online games. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
John. Okay.
I had so like I host my own like online Survivor game, and like we were having like a meetup with a bunch of the alumni from that game like in the Boston area, and a bunch of them were friends with John. And so like he showed up to that like a few
Oh,
months before we played in Maine, maybe like a month before we played in Maine. So
oh
like that's
wow.
about as well as I knew him, was like I hung out with him for like a night. But like, you know, yeah.
So did that make you want to, I mean, we could skip ahead to the
Yeah.
swap. Did that like make you want to try to work with him when he was swapped to your tribe?
Um, a little bit yes, a little bit no. I try really hard to not work off of pre-game relationships because I know it's frustrating to watch and it's kind of boring for me. Um, I don't like railing myself in like that. And also just like in the online space, like John is sort of like known as like one of the most social guys out there. He's like
Oh,
incredible, like socially. I think the elements took a little bit of that away from him because it's like
yeah.
I was talking to him after we were both voted out, and it's like, oh, that's the John I know and love. But like he was
Hmm.
so like low energy, like while I was on a tribe with him. So but yeah, I mean, so I was like a little wary of him with that. But I also knew like other people out here are probably going to know other people, and they're probably going to use those relationships to benefit them. So I'm not going to like close the door on him like that, you
Hmm.
know. But I was also not going to like stick my neck out to save him when it
Yeah.
was like other people were just seemingly so like against him, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the cool things about your cast was that there were so many of you that kind of knew each other and
Mhm.
that didn't really come into play not much at all. So I think
Yeah.
everybody was on the same page as you. Maybe not Mike. Mike,
Yeah.
well, but still, even he was still on that same page of like, yeah, I know these people, but I'm gonna work with them, but I'm not
Mhm.
gonna. We don't have a final three or anything. You know what? It wasn't
Yeah.
like that. It was like,
Like I do think it like played a factor because like there was so many people that all seemed to know like probably like 5 people that sort of all seemed to know each other. Um and like it sort of made some things make a little more sense when I learned about that after the game
mm-hmm,
was done. But it also like I wasn't like mad about it because it's not like they made like a 5-person alliance that they just like
yes,
ran to the end. Like for example, like Jess was willing to turn on Mike, and like
oh
he
yeah,
wasn't exactly in lockstep with her either.
yeah,
So it's like, but you know, who knows if they would have worked as far into the game as they did if they
mm-hmm,
didn't know each other, you know.
mm-hmm,
But I respect the way they played that situation
yeah,
personally.
yeah, yeah, same. Okay, so uh day one, what are you thinking? I know you were trying to get like
Yeah.
one-on-one time with a lot of people,
Yes.
which makes sense.
So like my thought process was okay, so like I had talked to Cam like literally the night before I went out to play. I was like, "Do you have any advice to me?" And like the biggest piece of advice he had to me was try to get one-on-one time with everybody before the first tribal council because then they'll probably like you enough to keep you around. And I was like, "Okay, makes sense." And also just sort of like from the community I come from, it's just sort of understood that everybody's talking to everybody. And so, like, for me, I was getting a little wary of like, it seems like everybody's just kind of hanging around the campfire all the time. Maybe I need to be the one to start like getting the ball rolling on one conversations because nothing's going to happen if everybody's staying around the campfire the whole time. And then, like, after I started like taking opportunities here and there. I knew I was being transparent about it, but I thought it didn't matter that much because it's Survivor. People are talking to each other. But like I could sort of tell just maybe from I don't know if it was body language or something like that, but people were getting like a little like wary of what I was doing. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll pump the brakes a little bit and let the game come to me a little more. But it was a little frustrating, the like beginning part of the game where, and like hearing like my perception after the game where it's like people were like, I was squirrely Dan because I was going off and talking to everybody. It's like I wasn't even talking strategy.
It wasn't people. Come on, it was one person. It was one person.
I mean, that nickname specifically, I think was just Will, but like it sounded like everybody was kind of seeing me in that light, you know.
And maybe that's true. From the footage, it's Will telling everyone that you're Squirrely Dan and they need to watch out because look, he's talking to everyone, and people in these talks with Will are going like, "Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know."
I thought it was obvious. Like even while I was out there, I thought, "Oh, it's obvious I'm going off and talking to people." I wasn't hiding it.
I mean, it's annoying when if you don't do that. How annoying. Like how boring for us camera people to film a bunch of 9 people sitting around talking about grocery shopping or whatever. Okay, so do you have any thoughts on that first day on like what you were thinking, any like alliances you were trying to form?
On like our first like walk up, like you guys had split us into like because they were tribes of 8, and like you guys had split us up like 4 people from this tribe like go up first, and then 4 people from the next tribe go up like second, and like I was in the first group from my tribe. It was me, Mike, Jess, and Andy. We're all in the same group, and like I was like, well, this is just like production formed like a small group for us, like where we can just sort of like have, I don't know if it was like 20 minutes where we were like able to just sort of talk as a group and get to know each other as a small group. And like we all seem to get along very well. There's a little more context based off of past games that explains that a little more, but like I thought we all seemed like social enough people, like solid enough game players that I was like willing, and like we had made like a little bit of a pact to stick together. And for the first like day, like 24 hours of the game, that was all anybody had ever given to me, was like that little 4 group of people. So it's like I sort of, those were the 3 people that I was like most willing to align myself with at the beginning, and they all seemed like I love all 3 of those people. They're amazing people and players, and I mean that's most of the basis for the first half of my game was basically just that little group of people.
It basically the whole pre-merge, yeah,
pretty much, because and this is part of why I say like if that swap had like worked out any differently, I would have been way more willing to flip. But I literally swapped with the only people who were willing to give me anything, like game wise. So it's like, why would I flip on that personally when I don't even know any of the other people? You know?
Yep. So, no, it makes sense. Yeah. It would be stupid to flip on that that swap tribe. It would. Okay, so unless you have anything to say about any challenges.
And the one other big thing, I'm not even sure if this made it to camera, so like I imagine you guys would be pissed about this, but like Andy finding the idol, like literally on the tribe flag, announced it to like literally everybody in the game.
Yeah.
Like, did you guys catch that? Because it was like while we weren't supposed to be talking.
No, you it was okay for you guys to be talking at that time. Very unfortunately, that was not caught on camera. And it's the one thing this whole season, the one piece of footage that I know, there's 2, because there's another idol find that we also didn't catch on camera. Man. 2 of them. Yeah. Like my biggest like source of frustration right now is like, how do I make episode 1 without him? But whatever, it's fine.
But like for context, he like
Yeah.
from my perspective, I just sort of like see him sort of like looking at the flag a little bit, and I was like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that. There's probably something on that flag. And then watched him reach over, and I saw other people were watching him too.
Yeah.
And he like grabs it, and then tallest guy I've ever met raises his hand in the air with it, and it's like, hey guys. Saw the other tribe look right at him too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, immediately everybody's eyes just look at the other tribe flag where that would have been, and it was gone already. So we were like, it was probably one of the first 4 people.
Yeah, we did
So,
get that. We did get the other idol find
yeah.
on that flag, so I'm glad for that.
So you can fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many confessionals about what happened because so many people saw it, and so many people saw it before him, and so it'll be fun to edit all those together.
Yeah.
Okay, so so what did you think about that? Was that a smart move for him? Like, because a lot of people didn't see him get it.
Really?
Yes, a lot of people
geez.
didn't see him get it.
And then he announced it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I were to guess, probably like half of us on my tribe saw him get it.
Yeah.
The other half had their like back turned or whatever. But like I had like the perfect, like I watched him get
Mm-hmm.
it. But I think in a way it sort of set up his game where he was like, for at least the first half of his game, he was very much like a big tribal asset.
Yeah.
Like he was, the guy carrying us in the challenges. He was like great around the camp. He was like lighthearted, easy to talk to, all that. And like if anybody's gonna be like the public idol finder for the tribe, it's like you almost want it to be him, because like you kind of he's already a visible member of the tribe. It's not somebody that you think will like be that snaky. I think Andy tries to play snaky and then fails sometimes.
I don't think he tried at all. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
Not snaky's not the right word, but like a little like a little sneaky at times, like mostly just around his advantages later in the game.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. For sure. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. But he's not good at it. So
you heard it here first. Andy's not good.
Dan said it. Many things. He's not good at being sneaky. It's kind of hard when you're that tall.
Yeah. Is he 6'5"? Is that right?
Something like that.
Something stupid.
But yeah, I mean, and like I was like, oh, I'm already working with this guy.
Yeah, perfect, right?
Like it put like a little seed of doubt of like, well, that was kind of a little stupid, so like maybe I can't trust him that much with information, but like
right.
I don't know if that actually like played that much of a factor in my decision making in the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go then to and always feel free to interrupt and go back and whatever. But let's go to that first immunity challenge that you guys lose. It kind of seemed like leading up to it, everyone was already agreeing on a target based on things that were said around camp by the person who was the target. But then during the strategizing portion of that game, do you want to talk about, because like you caused chaos. I was so lucky. I was the one filming that first interaction between you and Will, and I was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? This is gonna be fantastic. And then you fucked up Trisha's whole game, and I'll never forgive you. But go ahead and explain what was going on.
Okay. Nobody had talked to me about the target heading into that vote. Like literally nobody had talked to me about it because everybody was suspicious of me, apparently. And I thought, based off of like little like comments and like snippets of conversation that I had gotten, that like if anybody was on the outs, it would be Will. And so I was trying to set him up to be thrown under the bus
I know that. I
Like
know you
I
were
was
trying to do
trying,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like he was sort of like around camp, like dominating a lot of the conversation and stuff like that. And like I might have been reading the room wrong, but I thought it was sort of rubbing people the wrong way. He's a
Mm,
very loud and out there sort of guy. Like
yes.
I think he knows that about himself. Like
Yeah.
it's very endearing, like, but when it's like you're thinking you're just going off of first impressions, like, um, and like the things that Sam had done that like rubbed people the wrong way hadn't even crossed my mind as anything
Mm.
that was shady. Like I
Oh
thought,
no, not shady. Sure. Yeah.
but like I didn't think any of it was like a reason to target her
Okay.
personally. And so I think I got really unlucky with the fact that when we split off into one-on-ones, my first one was with Will. If
Yes.
it was anyone else, I think they would have filled me in on the plan and I would have been able to like, okay, hands
Uh,
off, I won't push Will. But like I was like, I mean, I'm like, if nobody's telling me the target, it might be me. So like I'm gonna try to like push an alternate name. And so like I tried to like get him to say a name.
mhm,
And he kind of wasn't giving me anything.
mhm.
So like, and I knew Trisha wasn't like gonna be in any danger. So I was trying to get him to like, or at least be able to pin it on him that he said Trisha's name because I thought, oh, people wouldn't be down for that. Let's go after. And then my very next conversation after that was with Trisha. I immediately threw him under the bus to her.
Yep.
And apparently and then I think my next conversation after that was with Mike or something where he like filled me in on the Sam thing. And I was like,
Right.
none of those reasons you just gave to me make sense. But I'm not gonna flip the whole right now because of things I did. So I'm just gonna, especially like I was sort of starting to read the room that okay, if I push this too hard, I'm probably gonna get the vote flipped on me. So
Right.
yeah,
Because at that point, I think Will was seen as more of a challenge asset.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so this changes a lot for me as far as like your motivations there, because I thought that you knew everyone else was agreeing on
no,
Sam because Sam had been saying that she didn't even want to play. And that's why they were like, well, this is easy.
yeah,
She doesn't care about being here anyway. She should be behind the camera anyway. Let's just
right,
vote her out. So, and I know that Will's whole thing was he was trying to pull Sam's name out of you. He was trying to get you to give him a
yeah,
name, and you were doing the same thing. It was
yeah.
hilarious.
It was really hilarious. Like at the moment, I was like, "Oh, I'm trying to pull a name out of him, and he's giving me nothing. So this is already going badly." So,
I mean, it didn't help
um,
that you were the two people on the tribe, I think, who trusted each other the least.
oh, absolutely.
It
Like
was
I
awful
trusted
for
him
you.
0% at all.
Yeah.
I saw him as sort of like a like wild card that like I didn't know if I wanted to like have in the game. Um, which like later on in the game, I saw that as a reason to work with him. But like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like at that moment when I'm trying to like set up like people that I can work with, I didn't think he was one that I could.
Right.
And he felt the same about me.
Yeah.
So
Because you're
yeah.
squirrely Dan, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then Mike's explanation that he gave to me for like the Sam vote was about like he felt like uncomfortable with how connected she was to production and how much she knew about production. And I was like, that makes no sense to me at
no,
all. But I agreed with him. So I think
yeah.
I even said like in my voting confessional, like, this makes no sense to me, but I don't want to get voted out. So it's you.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in doing all that, you ruined Trisha's game. You're the villain.
I'm
I'm just
actually
kidding.
like
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
actually like, did that how
So
like did that affect her game that much?
here's how I through talking to her, she couldn't trust you and she couldn't trust Will. So
Mm-hmm.
that meant that when she was on that swap tribe, she wasn't giving Will anything. And so the whole time in Will's confessionals, from before he even spoke to Trisha, he was saying in his confessionals he wanted to work with her and he wanted to take her to the end. So then he's telling her this stuff and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You tried to vote me out. Like, she's not saying
Yeah.
anything to him. She's just in her confessionals. She's saying, like, this guy's full of shit. He's a slime ball. And it's because of you.
Like, and like I feel bad now because she was the person out there that knew by far the least about Survivor, at least on our tribe.
Yeah.
So like I just sort of accidentally like threw her like the biggest curveball right to start. I didn't realize it like had that many repercussions on her game until you just told me just
Yeah. I knew you didn't, so I had to just throw
and
you
she's
under
too
the
nice
bus.
she's too nice to say that to me
No,
first.
no, of course she is.
So, yeah. And she was like one of my favorite people out there. So I do
Yeah,
feel
she wanted
bad.
to work with you too. Oh man. Okay, so moving
Like
on from that.
outside of like the three I had made a deal with, she was like the one I was like most willing to like sort of
Oh, really?
try to work with. And I had tried to like get those conversations going, but I think she was like a little timid because
Yeah.
why wouldn't you be on when you're thrown into the deep end like she
Right.
was?
Right.
So she wasn't like pushing too much strategy talk,
Yeah.
which was smart in some ways. Look where it got me. But like, you know, yeah, I do feel bad.
You were playing the game and honestly it was great. It's going to be a great episode, so
I'm
whatever.
so afraid of what my edit is gonna be because like I think in a lot of ways like I played very badly, but in other ways I played like a game that I think if I got to the end with the right people, I might have been able to pitch a case. And that's where I was trying to go, but I don't think it was gonna get there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But
Yeah.
your edit isn't going to be terrible. There's going to
Okay.
be some stuff with your genes. There's going to
Yeah.
be some people saying you might be a good goat. And
And I could tell people were thinking that about me
yeah,
because, like, how would you not? But, you know,
yeah.
yeah.
But I
Which
mean,
was
you're no
part of why I
villain.
was so blindsided was because I
Yeah.
thought everyone thought that of me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was a wild one. But we'll get there.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm out of order.
no, I mean, going out of order is fine. Um, but let's see here. So next is okay. Next is another Kaya goes out, and then the swap happens,
Mhm.
and you end up with your alliance, your first four alliance
Yeah.
for a while, for 4 rounds. My gosh, before the merge, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. All the greens go
Mhm.
down. Do you have anything to tell us about that with Caitlin
So
and John going out?
So like just like the round right before I think it was the round right before the swap, we
Mhm.
had a challenge. It was the one with like the rifle shooting where
Yes.
both tribes had to sit one person out, and it was me and Steph were like the two people that sat
Oh,
out.
yes.
And
And
this was
she
like
was talking to you. Okay.
she was so and this is a line I repeated many times. I'd be surprised if my retellings of this doesn't make it like
Oh, it's gonna
in the
be in
edit.
there. Yeah.
Like just like so like we sit down and she's like, how's it going? And I was like, pretty good, how's it going with you? So I was like, oh, she's willing to talk. Okay, this is good. And then she's like, how are things going on your tribe? And I'm like, well, I barely know you, so I'm not gonna tell you anything. So I was like, yeah, I mean, it's going pretty good. And then she was like, I forget exactly how it goes because this was so long ago, but and then she's like, who are your alliances?
Such a dumb question. Sorry, Steph.
And I was like, I'm not gonna tell you that. She got mad at me for not wanting to tell her that. And then we just sort of sat in awkward silence for the
Oh
rest of the
man.
chat. And I was like, who is this? And then, like we immediately get like, so she becomes like the outcast person, and like so she would join whoever, like whichever tribe lost, which was of course us because we lost everything. And so like, and this is skipping ahead like one round, but still it's like, and then she like joins the tribe and she's like the most friendly person of all time,
Yeah.
like very outgoing, like all that. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Maybe it would have been better if you didn't like lead off a relationship like trying to grill me and being so sketchy. But you know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so going back to your previous question about like talking about the swap. So when we lost that first like swap challenge, we so it was John and Caitlin that were like on our tribe. And like I was trying to sort of like slightly nudge the ball towards like a Caitlin vote out just because like I felt like, okay, I have no real footing in this game right now. And like I kind of know John from before the game, and I know he can be a really good player. So like maybe if I keep him around, he'll work with me and like I'll have something to work with. And like Caitlin seems like a very wonderful person, but like I like she was just as willing to work with, like she was just as like likely to work with other people as with me. So it's like, yeah. So and I also saw her as somebody that could be like a huge threat down the line, where like I didn't see John as being like that sort of position. And so I was trying to slightly nudge it towards her being voted out, and then everyone else wanted it to be John. And I think there was like a little back and forth, but then like I think Jess wanted it to be Caitlin at some point too. Yes. And then like I think Mike or somebody like talked her back into like voting for John. Right. And I was like, God damn it. I was like, oh, with Jess on my side, maybe I can actually make this happen without pushing too hard. And then no. And then like John has the idol, which I think everybody in the game predicted, because he was in that like first 4 people to be like on the mat, went like, so he could like more easily find that flag idol at the beginning.
You all thought that he had it?
I at least know I like assumed he did. And I think this was months ago. I think like when in talking to like other people, they sort of like also assumed, but then I think other people were like a little less sure about it. But I'm somebody where it's like sometimes I'll like be like, well, who else would have it? Like, you know. So
everyone on the Green Tribe thought it was Justin that had it.
Really?
They all assumed it was Justin. No one suspected John until the swap, and then Caitlin was like, wait a second, you have the idol, don't you? And he was like, no.
He did.
Yeah.
And so, but we like obviously split the votes, right? And John sent Caitlin home through like basically no fault of her own.
Yeah.
That's like probably like out of anybody in the game, like Caitlin was probably the most screwed.
Totally.
Like, just because like I couldn't point to a single thing she did wrong. Like, and she's had successfully gotten us to want to keep her. But it just happened to be that the other person she swapped with like had an idol. And also she like happened to swap into a tribe where like the 4 people that were in the majority had made a pact at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like basically everything that could have gone wrong for her did go wrong.
Definitely the most. She wins for most swap screwed in season 3.
How could you? Yeah, and then Steph joins after her. Steph had so much like bluffing with idols, actually having idols. Like I don't actually remember what the sequence of events is. I think so. So for that vote, after that vote, we like went back to camp. We had like an afternoon or something where we were all like hanging out. Um, and then we like lost the challenge, the immunity challenge. So we knew we had to vote somebody out. Uh, and I was like, well, okay. Like I was still trying to like nudge it toward, well, no, at that point I think it was a little more than nudging. I was like actually a little like terrified of Stephanie.
Really?
Because of like how strong of a presence she was. Like she talks so intensely. I
Yeah.
was like, if we let her get too far in the game, she's gonna like convince people of some like master plans. Like we don't know what her relationships are like over there, but probably pretty good because she's so social. And like I just couldn't convince people of this, like to like vote her out. And so the plan was still to get John out. And then was this the round where like Steph played an idol, but like
Yeah.
she didn't need it
Uh,
because we were voting John out anyway.
correct.
We had like
Yeah.
split the votes, and I think it was tied technically, but like we were all were like, well, we weren't planning on voting.
So she did not have an idol. She had a fake idol from Exile.
Okay.
You guys go to vote.
Oh, and she found it like,
She finds it in the
yeah,
voting booth.
yeah. So she was bluffing the
She was
entire
bluffing.
round,
Yeah.
but then actually found it at Tribal.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This all
It's making coming back to you.
Yeah.
But that round, Andy was with you on thinking she was a bigger threat, and he voted for Steph twice.
Yeah.
And you voted for her.
Yeah.
So that's 3. And then it was John played his shot in the dark, so he didn't get a vote. And then Jess and Mike and Steph voted for John.
Okay.
So it would have been 3-3.
Okay.
So,
but like,
and Andy's extra vote would have carried.
Maybe 4-3 if there was no shot in the dark.
Yes. So if John had voted, I'm sure he would have voted for her. Yeah. And she would. So it wasn't the dumbest idol play. I'm sad that she played it just because she was so fun to watch. And for her to burn it there, it was sad.
Yeah. I was like thinking, for my game, this was really good. For the viewers, this was awful.
How's that? Oh, well, that she's voted out eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all were thinking that. Like, the viewers are gonna hate us.
Yes. You're all villains for a while there once she goes.
Yes, and like we had like the pleasure of like I think we had like, how did this go? So because John was voted out like last tribal of the night.
Yeah.
And then we got to like go back to camp and like get to know her really well. She was wonderful. Absolutely amazing person. Which just made it harder.
Yeah.
And then so we like spend the entire night just like vibing, getting to know each other, just sort of like connecting pretty well as a tribe. And we were like, okay, if we can somehow make it so that this group goes to merge together, like we can probably make something work. I don't know how genuine Steph was about that. I would assume not. But it was a nice thought. And so we then like win the next immunity challenge in a blowout. Like it was like the biggest blowout of the season.
It was, because it had been so even the whole time, and then that challenge, you guys, that was the worst
part about like we kept on losing. It was this close.
So close. Yeah.
It was so bad. But so we win that in a blowout, which eventually leads to like Trish going out. But like I think, was that tribe even 3-3 or something?
It was, and an idol was played.
Yeah, so we were like, we have no idea who's gonna go home. We had like our theories. I don't remember who our working theory was. And
Oh my God, you have so many theories. That's going to be like a deleted scene, is like all of your fan fictions about who's going home on the other tribe.
which like just to rewind a little bit, there was like you could probably get like a really good clip from me from the very first round where like we had like huddled around the campfire and like we were like making guesses as to who was gonna be gone first. And
Mm-hmm.
like I had guessed Larry, and then like as you guys are bringing in like the new, was it Miko?
Yeah.
Okay, you were bringing in like the new Miko tribe, and Larry wasn't there. I like fist bumped,
Oh no.
and then you guys like announced he was medevac, and I was like,
I'm not going to include any of that in the episode. That's awful.
I had like a whole crisis based off of that. But yeah, there was a lot of fan fiction like in that pre-merge around like, oh, who do you guys think is gonna
Yeah.
go? Like, yeah.
So you must have been shocked about Kaya going out, huh?
Yeah, because from our perspective, like none of us knew Kaya
Yeah.
whatsoever, and we had only ever like had like just we had seen little bits of like her interacting like with her tribe. She
Mm-hmm.
seemed hilarious. She
Yep.
seemed like the most outgoing person out there. She
Great in
seemed like
challenges. Yeah.
wonderful, great at challenges. We were like, this is like the dream person to
Right.
like have on your tribe. She's
Yes.
probably like one of the favorites to win this thing.
Yes.
We were like, oh, when we were coming up with scenarios for that one, we were like, oh, Kaya's the safest.
Yeah. Oh no. Poor Kaya.
And then we like the new tribe comes in and Kaya's not there, and we were all shocked.
Yeah.
We were like, was there another medevac?
Right.
And then like we get to the swap and everyone like explains to us exactly what Kaya's situation was, and we were like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes a
Like,
lot more sense.
she was kind of the Forrest, like the lovable version of Forrest. Just knew nothing, didn't want to vote people out, didn't
Yeah,
understand. Yeah.
yeah. Was just like in like nicotine withdrawals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Like had
man.
just like gotten brought in like 24 hours beforehand or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that made
Okay.
a lot more sense.
Yeah. Right.
But
Um.
yeah, so we were like, I think that was like, so talking about the swap again. I think I don't think any of us predicted Trisha going out at the
You didn't.
swap.
Yeah.
I think she was like another case of like, well, like Trisha is like a lovely person and like not very threatening at all.
Yeah.
So like I feel like if anybody, because when it's like a deadlock like that, it's usually like a big target that goes home. In my experience, just because it's like, well, this is our chance to like take like a big shot at like the person from at the other side. So like let's remove the biggest puzzle piece or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so like we all thought like, oh, like Delaney is like super threatening. Like I could see her going out,
Yeah.
or like, like Will, he's like gigantic presence. He could go out, but oh, he's like bonding really well with Matt. We like picked that up from like challenges and stuff, especially
Mm-hmm.
the like
Yes.
teamwork one where they were like dancing all over the field. We had like
For the listeners, he's talking about he's talking about where they're holding the endurance challenge, where they're holding up the discs with the
yeah,
ball.
yes. And like so we were like sitting on like the sidelines after like most of us had like failed the challenge at that
Yeah.
point. Like most of us had failed like an hour before like the last people.
Yes.
And we were like, just there was so much shit talking going on about Matt and Will about how close they'd gotten, like, oh, he's probably getting in his ear, like stuff like that. I had
Mhm.
never met Matt in my life, so I was just like, yeah, that sounds right. And we got to like talk to like we got to do a little cross tribal like talks, nothing like strategy wise, but like
Yeah.
got a little more sense of like people like Justin, for example, who
Yeah.
I'd like only ever really seen from that like awful handball challenge, or like just sort of like seemed like leader-ish. you know?
Yeah.
I think at some point in like my first confessional, I described him as looking like an army dude, which
I think so, yeah.
I somewhat stand by it, but at the same time, after knowing him more, I'm like,
Army dude, no.
no. Like he kind of has that look, but then
Yeah.
you like talk to him at all.
Yes.
Not really.
I think he was wearing camo
Right.
shorts, so maybe that had something in the green shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Gave him a vibe.
Pretty fit. And
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that. And like that was one where was that the immunity that no, that was for the pasta reward.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we were so pissed at the pasta.
Mm-hmm. It was both immunity and the pasta reward. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and that's when John went out, right? I believe. Because I was partnered with John during that challenge. So he was there, at least. Anyway, we're keeping on jumping all over the timeline in this interview.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Have we even talked about Seth? No.
Not really, no.
So yeah, I mean, we had that like awesome day of like really getting to know her, and I was sort of like I was still wary of her. She still scared the shit out of me, but like at the same time, I was like coming out of this swap, I'm just gonna have like literally like the 3 people that I swapped with, and then like all the people I connected with the least on my original tribe are over on the other tribe. And like a bunch of people I've never met before.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I'd like to have at least one extra connection coming in. So I was like actually really wanting Steph to make the merge. Even if she scared the shit out of me, I was like, I can't really, I'm not gonna say no to any connection. And then we obviously lost that last pre-merge challenge, and like she made like so many pitches. She was like doing her Steph thing, like making every pitch she possibly could. And like I found out after the season, right? I'm not sure like if there's confessionals about this or whatever, but like Mike wanted to flip with her to vote somebody out. I think Andy.
Yes.
And like he was trying to communicate this to me.
Yes.
Without saying any words.
Yes. It wasn't his fault. Go ahead, and then I'll tell you what happened.
Okay. So what happened was, so she had like made like individual pitches to everybody, like, and she was like in her little bush, like making pitches to people, and like, she had like called everybody like to have their turn to like have Steph pitch to them, and then like he was having his turn, and then it was like, hey Dan, come over here, and like so like I walked over. And like at this point, I was wary of Mike because like he was such a big prep. He was so loud. He was volatile. Like I was like, he was bossy. Like I was like, I can't let this guy like sink my game because he's like ordering people around too much. I think I had so many confessionals of me just saying basically that about Mike.
You were nice. Okay. You were really nice.
And so like I walk over. And he winks at me, which I take to mean lie to her. Because everyone else I've ever talked to on the face of the planet, that's what that means. But according to him, that was him trying to tell me that he wants to do the plan that she's proposing to us. And like she wanted me and Mike to flip with her 3-2 against I think Andy, and I was being pretty non-committal.
As you always were.
And like because I didn't want her to like then like run to everyone else and be like, oh, Dan said he's gonna do this.
Why would she do that? That makes no sense.
Because she was saying that about everyone else.
If she thought she had a plan,
I guess so. I guess you're right, but like. I don't know. I was like, if this is gonna fall, like, I don't know. I felt like and in this conversation, she was like getting like pretty pissed at Mike. because I was being kind of non-committal, and I was like,
Yeah.
just get mad at Mike, not me. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you're right that what else is what's she gonna do if she thinks she has a plan? But I didn't
It's
want to
hard.
be like too misleading, and like
Yeah.
especially now knowing that she's on the, well, I think I already knew that she was on the jury. I didn't want to like send her to the jury like after wronging her so much, after promising that I would be like voting flipping with her,
Of
because that's like
course.
the best way to create a bitter juror.
Of
Um,
course.
especially like with somebody that has strong personality as Steph. You just gotta like you have to, if you can make them mad at somebody else, do it if you're planning on voting.
Yeah.
Um, and like, and then Mike pulls me aside to like talk about like whether we were gonna do the plan, and he was like, and I was like, so what are you thinking? And he said he thinks he's just gonna like stick with like our original tribe.
Huh.
In conversations after the game, he was expecting me to then push back on that and like and say like, no, I think we should vote with Steph,
Yeah.
which makes no sense to me.
So, from my perspective of watching all this and taking all the notes on it and
Yeah,
like transcribing everything you jerks were saying,
yeah,
jerks because I had so much, it took me so fucking long to do it. Um, uh, it was clear that Mike actually wanted this to happen.
mm-hmm.
Stupid move of him to wink before the conversation starts. I didn't catch that. And then you're being very like non-committal. It's clear to
Right,
me, oh, Dan wants absolutely nothing to do with this
yeah.
plan. Uh,
I was trying not to give her false hope,
yeah,
but yeah,
of course, it makes
yeah,
sense. And
yeah,
then the conversation you guys have, it's like you have like 20 seconds and they're calling everybody to tribal. You have to go.
yeah,
So there's no time. And
yeah,
Mike's trying to he's worried because of how non-committal you were in the conversation. So he's like, I don't think Dan wants to do this. Let me just put it out there one more time. And
yeah,
you're like, definitely like, what a joke. You're telling him like, what a joke. I can't believe she's even trying that. And then he just plays along with that because he doesn't
yeah,
want to have a target on himself. So it
right,
all makes sense.
yeah.
It's such a shame how these constant like miscommunications throughout the
I know.
game lead to the demise of so many
I
people.
know. Like it's because of the fast pace of the game
Yes,
is how
yeah.
so much of this happens, because we would
Mhm.
have like 10-20 minutes to discuss some of these votes, sometimes less. And like it
Mhm.
was like we just have to cobble together like the quickest plan we can, like get everybody together like on a plan all at the same time. Like sometimes just communicating a plan to everybody and making sure it reaches everybody's ears takes up most of that time. So it's,
Yeah. You know,
yeah,
I have always thought that Survivor is like 75% luck. I think a mini Survivor that's 4 days is like 90% luck.
way more. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think just the very fact that I wasn't like first boot from my tribe was very luck based,
Lucky.
because it could have very much and probably should have very much been like
Oh man.
but I just kind of rode that luck wave all until the wheels fell off basically.
I'm I want to look at my notes for what yeah, okay. Dan, yeah. Yeah. There was enough people saying you that the edit is gonna be the audience is not gonna know if it's you or Sam being
Okay,
voted out. Yeah.
okay,
So
okay, that's very fun. I like being the decoy.
yeah, yeah.
um
Okay. What's
so yeah,
next?
then's merge, or
Mm,
yeah, then's
yes.
merge. And like, so I'm meeting all these people for like the first time. We have like our merge feast. I'm just sort of like trying to like, be myself. Like a very large part of my social game is just making like snarky jokes, and people seem to like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that like I'm just trying to like make myself likable during the merge feast and everything. And then like we kind of get told that we like will have I think it was like you have like 15 minutes to like talk now before the challenge, and then just like you'll have like 5 or 10 minutes after the challenge before tribal.
No, it was you have a half an hour now because you're not going to have any time at all between the next challenge and tribal. That's what was communicated, and I have it on video. And then everyone was busting up like so mad that you got no time, and we were like, we warned you.
I think all of us collectively misheard that.
Not everyone, but like definitely you, Justin. Justin was really pissed about it.
I was pissed that I had like 5 seconds to talk to Justin.
Yeah.
And then it was like just sort of like, oh, like surprise, I don't actually get to talk to Justin. And then it's like, well, we don't have like any time to like talk about this plan. So we're just going to default on biggest threat. And like we all just sort of silently, without even needing to talk about the plan, knew that like, okay, if we're gonna have no time to talk, it's Justin, sort of.
Yeah, I was kind of really shocked at how unanimous it was, because there were conversations, maybe 5 or 6 people were involved in conversations that were like, okay, we're gonna vote Justin, and Matt and Mary Ellen were both involved in those, and they were like, well, okay, if it has to be someone, might as well be Justin. So a lot of people knew. I was shocked at how many people were not in those conversations also voted for him. So that makes sense. Everyone was like groupthink, like biggest threat has to go.
Yeah, I mean, like he just stands out so much as like he's like so good socially, he's so good physically, like he's so good like you can tell that he's somebody that can at least put a strategic like together, and like is probably going to be a little more forceful than everyone else about it, you know. So it's like he sort of is like that triple threat just from like the outside looking in, that when you don't have much time and you have a majority, like it's hard not to just vote for him. And there was also like, I'm trying to remember exactly what was happening, because my first conversation in our one-on-ones was with Matt, and this is where like a very key relationship for me going forward started, was like out of anybody in the game, and I think everybody had this experience with Matt, but like out of everybody in the game, I was able to just like form a connection with him and like talk about the game like it was natural, and like, oh, I'm not having to tiptoe that much, you know. And there was like some, and so like I was like, okay, this is like my first person I'd go to if I'm gonna cross tribal lines, and like I'd want to protect him if the votes were gonna be like coming down like that. And but there was like some weird situation where like there was like a retelling of like what happened on the Trisha vote, and I can't exactly because it's been so long, I can't exactly remember what it was, but like Matt told me a story about like Justin went rogue, and like he didn't really want to work with Justin. Will told me that story too. Justin told me that story too. And then I went to Mary Ellen and she said, I just want to work with like Matt and Justin. And I was like,
Mary Ellen, you blew it.
Like, I didn't imagine that happening. And I think it was then that we then like got called to the challenge, so I had like no time to process this information. So I was like, well, I don't trust Justin as far as I can throw. So, like, whatever, I don't know you.
Mary Ellen's so sweet and just no idea how to lie or why she should lie. Like, just no. Gotta love her.
I was like, okay, so like they're trying to present that they're like not working together, and then sweet little Mary Ellen just like blows that up immediately.
She was in on the whole fucking plan.
I thought she had to have been. So I was like going crazy. I was like, what just happened?
Man. man.
So yeah, like I think I might have. It still would have been tricky. I probably would have more likely like still gone with my original numbers, but I think if that hadn't happened, I would have at least considered it a little more because I knew I was like in a great position.
You
like,
would have considered flipping with the 3 greens to try to do something else? Yeah.
Potentially, I didn't really get very far with like what that would be, right? But like I was at least like being a little open-minded about it, and then that just sort of shut the door. Like, especially because of my great conversation with Matt and Justin seemed pretty cool. So like I was like, okay, like maybe I can actually like work with something here, you know, and then that just sort of like shut the door on. I probably would have more likely still gone, like the vote probably still would have gone exactly the same, but like I would have considered. That's mostly what I'm saying.
I mean, and it would have made a lot of sense for your game to flip at that point. So, but knowing that happened,
I tried to flip the next
sense.
vote, and it didn't.
No, the next vote was Will, right?
Yeah, I tried to flip on that vote to vote out Andy. Like that. So the next vote was.
I know that.
Did you not get this? Like so, like
it's so many hours of footage.
I'm sorry. Let me try. So like the next vote, like I was sort of like, okay, like I've secured that I have a safe spot. The crazy merge vote's like done. So like now I might be like more willing to like make something happen. And then but I knew like I think I needed like all of the original Mikos and then like one other person along with Will to like flip. And like I think I don't remember. I think I was trying to pitch Mike. And Will was really trying to pitch Andy. And I was like,
yes,
I could do Andy. Like I just knew like that power structure probably needed to blow up if I like wanted to like have the flexibility to do more in the game. And like I was saying earlier, like Will being like so like out there and like such a wild card was something that was like not appealing to me at the beginning of the game, but like around this point, like he's the perfect person to flip with. Like he'd be willing to do those moves, right? And then and so he really wanted Andy out. And I was like, you know what? Andy's a big threat. I wanted Mike, but we can do Andy instead. And then like I spent like that entire like strategizing time trying to like make that work. And I was trying to pull Jess in to do this. Because like at that point I had not gotten that much from most people from my original tribe, but like Jess had given me some.
Yeah, can I ask about that?
Sure.
Jess seemed like the person who, and like, how do I say this diplomatically? She was the person on your tribe that was pushing to work with you the hardest. She was trying to bring you into her big alliance, and nobody else wanted you in it.
Yeah, I do think she like saved my game a lot, like without me even being there. Like I do feel like there were like conversations had without me present that saved my game because of her, and a lot of that is because like I sort of off of first impressions, she seems very smart. She's very solid. She like has a at least decent social game. And when I'm looking for an ally at the start of the game, I'm looking for a really competent player, somebody that I can like sort of bounce ideas off of, and we can like move forward. And I didn't see her as like a big wild card or anything. And so like I think she was my very first one-on-one conversation because I really wanted her to like be like my person. And it like was clear after just a few rounds that like I wasn't that person for her, but I was still at least working with her. So I was still gonna like try to keep that connection going. And I do think she probably saved my ass. Like
I mean, I think she was at least your number 2.
Like I was her number two, or
Like of anyone, even though she had this like four alliance, and like
yeah,
Mike was on the outer kind of through
yeah,
Delaney, and you were on the outer through Jess.
okay.
But I think Jess most wanted, like, clearly Delaney was her number one, but she most wanted you in there.
That is very nice to hear.
Yeah.
I did not necessarily pick that. I picked up that she
Uh,
was working with me, but I didn't know I was like that in with her.
mm,
But yeah, so like and like in like those swap rounds, like there was a lot of times where it's like we would come together and like I would check in with her like what we wanted to do. We would throw a few ideas back and forth, and then like I would be like, okay, I'll back up what you want to do, like that sort of thing. And I was trying to really present myself as like I'll like be a solid option for you to like moving forward. And it wasn't until like at least I think it was this vote where Will went, where I sort of like was like, okay, our interests are no longer aligning because I couldn't get her to flip. And then like I talked to Will, and like I don't think he even knew that I was already trying to get momentum of a flip. And he like
yeah,
independently comes up to me and
it
he's
was
like,
great.
dude, I think, are you with me? Can you trust? He did like something like that. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I think we should flip on Andy. And I was like, trying to like talk him into my, I was like,
Yeah,
you're already flipping. Can we do my
yeah.
But
That was
he
a great
wanted
moment. I,
Andy.
I was like, oh my God, they're going to work together.
I tried literally until the last second before
Ah,
tribal. Like there was like because I was trying to like work because like I had the conversation with Will, like got him on board, got Matt on board, got
mhm.
Mary Ellen on board, whoever else. And then uh like tried to get Jess on board. She wasn't in on it. I tried to sort of like almost like bluff that I had the votes to her to get her to vote
Should
with
have.
us, but I sort of like and this was like as we were being called to tribal council, and like as we were walking there, and I think we were standing in line to like get into tribal council. Like Matt comes up to me in like the least subtle way possible and like whispers in my ear, so like, what are we doing? And I was like, I literally like originally turned to him and said, we're doing Andy. And then I turned away, and then like 10 seconds later I was like, no, I don't think we have the votes to Will. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably when he like decided to slip Will the shot in the dark.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was literally like in the tribal council line that I sort of like put the pieces together. Like, okay, I tried so hard to make this vote happen. It's not happening. Let's just do the safe option. I was kind of mad it was Will just because like, oh man, I finally got on the same
Yeah.
page as him.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but that was a really fun.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then like the next round, I was like, okay, now I'm
Now it's
doing
mine.
Mike. And then Jess comes up to me and says Mike, and I was like, oh, that was easier than I thought. When like thinking back on it now, and like Mike will love this. This is my biggest regret in the game, was that I still went along with the Mike vote, because I do think like everybody wanted Mike at that point.
Hmm.
Like just because I had wanted it for rounds at that point doesn't mean it was still like the right move for me.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that everyone else wanted Mike at that point should have been my cue to be like, okay, that's no longer the right move for me. He obviously doesn't have the power he once did. I should flip it. And like in my like head canon, and this is stuff that's like I'm like just going to sleep and I'm like rethinking things from the game, and it's like, what should I have done there? So it's like, I don't know. But I'm
Mhm.
like, I probably should have just like flipped it back on Jess. Like taken like
Ooh.
that information and like pulled Mike in and Andy in, because Andy was left out of that vote, and like
Yep.
took and flipped it on Jess. I don't know how willing like Matt or Mary Ellen would have been for that, but like
Oh my God, Dan, that would have worked because
I think
Matt
it would have.
Matt was closer with you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like at that point in the game,
dang.
Matt was my number one. And
Wow.
I had decided that in my brain, and I was just sort of trying to figure out like where I can take this, but at that point I was like, I'm not gonna beat any of these people from my original tribe, except for like Andy at this point had sort of like
Yeah.
started to like gather the reputation of like, oh, he actually doesn't know what he's doing. Like I loved the guy so much, and then like so I could have gotten it to flip on Jess. I think I was still just holding on to a little bit of like Jess is somebody I've been working with literally every round of the game.
Mm-hmm. It makes
But like
sense. Yeah.
so like I and like I top on top of like I have been wanting Mike out for probably like 3 or 4 months at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but like just been waiting for my time to do it. And then it's like I have my time to do it. Oh, everyone else wants to do it too. And it
Mm-hmm.
sort of took the glory away from the moment for me.
Totally. Jess got
And,
all the credit for that because
and I
she
was like
rallied everybody. Yeah.
so mad that like I got the Mike vote and it wasn't even my move.
Yeah.
I was mad about this for the rest of the time I was in Maine. and, like and just thinking about that was my biggest regret was that I still went with it just because it was like a plan I had thought of
I
rounds
think,
previously.
Dan, that's the perfect biggest regret for you. I think that's that. What a good one
Because
because
like
you could have got Jess out. I mean,
and
who
then
knows
like
what
the game's
happens after
wide
that?
open. I
Yeah.
probably could have like at least made some things happen where like
Mm-hmm.
I could have at least been seen a little bit more in the forefront, and then I have some winning equity at final tribal, and
Yeah.
then that's mine where I reflect on the game, and that's my biggest regret.
Well, I mean, in that world though,
Yeah,
in the real world, yeah,
I
you
haven't
got out
thought that far.
next.
I
But
Yeah,
in
next.
in the alternate reality where you get Jess out, you become the biggest threat at that point in everyone's minds in the game.
Yeah, I could see how you would think I would be the biggest threat after that. But
I mean, maybe Delaney is still who people
yeah,
see, but
because like Delaney scared the shit out of me from day one.
yeah,
Like just looking at her, like she just has like the best smile on the planet. Like she draws you in when you talk to her, and then like she's very capable on top of that. Like,
mm-hmm.
how is
Very
that not the scariest
well
person out
rounded.
there?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And I was sort of I think sometimes I make the mistake in these games of just assuming people will go along with me to take those types of players out, and that's what happened on the round that I went out. Was I
Yeah.
sort of took for granted that like, oh, obviously it's final six, it's Delaney. Like you take out Delaney at final six, like she's gonna be the biggest threat and she's gonna win if you don't take her out now, especially when she's like probably the biggest comp beast out here and can probably just win her away to the final tribal if you don't take the shot now. It was like
Mm-hmm.
her and Jess were and Andy were like just trading off comps.
Yeah, they
But like
were. Yeah.
Delaney was probably like the most well-rounded competitively out of those three. um, yeah, so I was like, so when people agreed to that plan with me, I thought, okay, it's set. Like, and I think I tunnel visioned a little bit too much of like thinking it was too easy of a move to get messed up, and then it got messed up.
I think this is a tough one, right? Because I think you had it and you should have had it and your way of thinking makes sense,
Yeah.
and that is the most logical move for everyone but Jess probably.
Yeah. My final, and I probably flip-flopped on this a couple times in confessionals, but my final three at that point, like in the game that I was thinking of was Mary Ellen, me, and Andy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so like I've played like a little less than double digit like online Survivor games.
Mm.
And like I generally like weirdly, even when I play really badly, I go far. I do play good occasionally. It's been over a year since I played one. But like sixth place is my weird like curse. I've got it like 3 times,
Oh,
including Maine. And like
wow.
but what am I saying here? But that was the first Maine was the first time I was like legitimately blindsided because usually somebody lets something up either like in their tribal answers they say something that's a little off or they're a little like overly cagey when they're talking to you, but like you just kind of push it out of your mind and like you're like whatever, the plan still makes sense, let's go with it, and then it's you. But this was the first time where it's like it didn't make too much sense to me why it would be me going out. So like I didn't even like really consider it until the moment my name came out of the urn the first time, and then I was like sweating bullets.
Mm-hmm.
um but it's like Marianne played her shot in the dark. And I was like, well, that was weird, but
Yeah.
like we still probably have the numbers. It's 3-2 at this point instead of 4-2. And then and then my name comes out of the urn and I'm like, oh, this is bad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And like during that round, I had like really taken the opportunity to like sort of reform my relationship with Andy a
Mm.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how successful I was with that, but like I think we were sort of on the same page where like at least like Jess and Delaney, you couldn't take them to the end.
Yeah.
I think in my mind, like it just made sense for Andy to work with me. And he was the one person that voted with me because Mary Ellen didn't vote. So like I think
Mm-hmm.
I was a little right at least. And
No,
like
definitely.
I don't think
Definitely.
I've talked enough about Andy. Like he's one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. Like just legitimately, like he's gonna be the greatest dad of all
Oh.
time. Like legit, he's so funny at all
Yeah.
times. He can do anything,
Yeah.
and like just legitimately like the nicest guy, so warm, so caring. Like I loved him so much. And like even if I lost to the guy, like I still think it was strategically my best move to take him to the end. But like even if I lost to the guy, I would have been happy because it's like I wouldn't rather lose to anybody else, you know?
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't taught. I feel like I haven't given enough Andy love so far. So like, you know,
Good. Good.
yeah.
Yes. We love Andy. We love Andy. He's also a patron, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen him in the group occasion. I think I talked to him a little bit about it after the game too.
Yeah, he has like a Wombats hat and everything.
But yeah, so yeah, that's where I was at, where why I was so blindsided. I don't think I even put together two coherent words for my like the confessional you do after you're voted out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I like, and I was just sitting there thinking, like, looking at the board of like who was left, I was like, why me?
Yeah.
Like everyone else has so much going for them, and I'm just here trying to scrap my way
Yeah.
through. And like, why
Yeah.
me? I was blocking a spot in final tribal if I went any further because
Yeah.
everybody was talking about me as like a goat, somebody that like could be beaten. Like
How did it feel to have your first blindside then?
kind of exhilarating.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't mad about it. I was just kind of like, huh.
Hey, I am a threat. I just blindsided.
Maybe I was underestimating myself. I wasn't. But
uh,
yeah. I do still like, I don't know. I'm still like a little proud of how I played the game, just in terms of like I feel like I was able to like get people on my side when other people were trying to take me out, but like at the same time, Like I needed very specific circumstances in order to win, and that's not a good game. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think you did the best you could with what you had, and your regret I think is the perfect one.
Yeah.
For what you would have done differently.
Yeah.
Because who knows what would have happened? It really would have opened up the game. Anyway.
Yeah, it would have been like the pure chaos move, but like from my position, the pure chaos move is the best move. Like
from that position, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
This was a ton of fun.
I came into this, I was like, maybe I'm not gonna beat 40 minutes because like I don't remember anything. And then you get talking and then
it all comes back, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I had a great time talking to you about everything.
Thank you. I had a great time too.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. That was my interview with Dan. It was really great to talk to Dan. I wish he had been able to play more the way he wanted to play, but every game is different. Dan will be back in some other game. I'm sure of it. So please check out Dan's Ponderosa. It's Ponderosa episode 4 on our YouTube channel. We will not be back on Monday with an interview with the next player voted out because of reasons. But I will have interviews with at least 3 more players this season. They'll just all come out after the finale, and the finale, well, episode 12 is this Sunday, and then the finale is going to be a day early, okay? You can watch it on March 1st if you want to, but it will be streaming live at 7 p.m. Tuesday, February 28th. So you get to watch it a day early. I thought I would give a little gift to all of these Season 3 players who wanted to have Survivor Season 43 watch parties. They don't need to be dealing with the stress of having to, watch the final episode and then immediately watch, episode 1 of Season 43 on CBS. So they get it a day early, and so do you. Yay! Be sure to check out all the other Ponderosas, too. And if you're not subscribed to the Surviving Maine YouTube channel, you are no friend of mine. Hit subscribe, and then I'll like you. Okay, bye.